If you grew up hearing your dad or granddad talk about the old Arsenal sides, this one's for you. Long before the Emirates, before Wenger, before George Graham, there was a gunsmith from Shropshire holding our defence together. This is the forgotten tale of Herbie Roberts, the gunsmith at the heart of Arsenal. Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Through My Eyes. I'm Richie, and today we're going way back to the 1930s to talk about a man who doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves. A centre-half who helped build an Arsenal dynasty, a man who literally went from making guns to becoming a gunner. This is the story of Herbie Roberts, the gunsmith who became an Arsenal legend. A four-time league champion, an FA Cup winner, a servant of his country in World War II, and a name that should never be forgotten. So grab a brew, settle in, let's take a trip back to Chapman's Arsenal. If you've ever wondered what makes Arsenal special, it's stories like this. Before Highbury, before league titles, before playing for England, Herbie Roberts was just a young bloke from Oswestry in Shropshire, learning a trade. And that trade? Well, he was a gunsmith. Picture it. Early 1920s, dim workshop, the smell of oil and metal, and a young Herbert Roberts carefully crafting firearms. Every tiny piece had to fit perfectly. No room for mistakes. Precision, patience, calm under pressure. That was his world. Now fast forward a few years. He's playing for Oswestry Town, a club miles away from the bright lights of London. But this lad clearly had something. Strong, disciplined, reading the game well. You can almost imagine the local fans saying that centre-half, he's too good for this level. Thank you. And then comes December 1926. Arsenal under Herbert Chapman are starting to build something serious. The scouting network spots Roberts, and Chapman makes what would turn out to be one of the most shrewd moves of his time. Herbie Roberts signs for Arsenal for £200. £200. Today, that might not even pay one VIP ticket at the Emirates. But back then, it was a big outlay. And a massive gamble on a lad from Oswestry who had been making guns not long before. And this is where I love the symbolism. Arsenal, a club nicknamed the Gunners, signing an actual gunsmith. It's almost like destiny. When Roberts arrived at Arsenal, he didn't walk straight into the side. Just like learning the gunsmith trade, he had to learn this one properly. He was a centre-half, and in those days that position was absolutely crucial. We're talking about old school WM formations where the centre-half had to marshal the defence, read the game, win his jaws, and often start attacks from deep. Under Herbert Chapman, this role became even more important. Chapman was revolutionising the game tactically, and Roberts had to adapt quickly. At first, he was in and out, finding his feet, but by the 28-29 season, he'd become a regular. From that point on, he barely looked back. Over the next 11 years, Herbie Roberts made 335 starts for Arsenal. 335. In an era with heavy pitches, basic medical care, and brutal tackles, that level of consistency is unbelievable. It tells you everything about his fitness, his toughness, and, most importantly, his professionalism. And this is where his Gunsmith background really shows. He brought that same meticulous mindset to defending. Every header, every tackle, every interception measured, precise, and purposeful. Have a great day. Sorry about that. He wasn't the flashy star. He was the rock. The kind of player every successful team needs. Now we get to the glory years. The early 1930s, when Arsenal were the dominant force in English football. And Roberts, he was right at the heart of it. Under Chapman, and then under his successors, Arsenal became a machine. Intelligent, organised, powerful. And Roberts, as centre half, was absolutely key to that structure. Let's talk honours, because this is where his legacy really shines. Herbie Roberts won Division 1 titles in 1931, 1933, 1934, 1935. 4 league titles in 5 years. Let's just think about that. Imagine a modern Arsenal player being part of a 4 title winning sides in half a decade. We'd have murals of him everywhere. Roberts wasn't just there making up the numbers, he was a mainstay in that defence. Week after week, year after year. His name was on the team sheet, anchoring one of the greatest sides English football had ever seen. And remember, this was a team bursting with talent, legendary names right across the pitch, but none of that works without someone like Roberts at the back. Reading the danger before it happens, winning his battles, keeping everyone in line. He was the quiet cornerstone of a moral conquering Arsenal. Sorry about that. The league titles are one thing, but we all know how special the FA Cup is to Arsenal. In 1930, Arsenal reached the FA Cup final, a massive opportunity for player and club, but for Herbie Roberts, fate was cruel. He missed the 1930 FA Cup final through injury. Imagine that. You've worked your way into this great side. You're helping build a new era. And when the big day at Wembley comes, you're stuck on the sidelines. That must have absolutely crushed him. But football, like life sometimes, gives you a second chance. In 1936, Arsenal made it back to the FA Cup final, this time against Sheffield United. And Herbie Roberts was there. This time, he wasn't watching, he was on the pitch. In the thick of it, doing what he did best. Defending for the badge, Arsenal won that final, lifting the FA Cup, and Roberts finally got his moment on one of the biggest stages. From the heartbreak of 1930 to the redemption of 1936, that's the kind of emotional journey that defines a player's career. Now, with all that success at club level, you'd expect a player like Roberts to have a stack of England caps. He did get one. He represented England, which in that era was an elite honour, but injuries held him back from more. Given how important he was for Arsenal, it's fair to say that without those injuries, he'd almost certainly have added to that single cap. Then came the injury that changed everything. In October 1937, Roberts suffered a badly injured knee. In those days, sports medicine was nowhere near what it is now. An injury like that today might keep a player out for a few months, could easily end a career back then. For Herbie Roberts, that knee injury effectively did just that. He played no more first team football, and in 1938 he officially retired from playing. But this is important. He didn't leave Arsenal. Instead, he moved into a new role, becoming the trainer of Arsenal's Southern League side, still serving the club, still passing on his knowledge, still connected to the badge he'd given so much to. From gunsmith to centre half to trainer, always learning a new trade, always contributing. Football paused as the world was plunged into the Second World War, and like many of his generation, Roberts answered the call. He served as a lieutenant in the Royal Fusiliers, stepping away from the pitch and into a very different kind of battle. This is where his story becomes bigger than football. He wasn't just a player, he was a soldier, a leader, risking his life like so many others of his time. Tragically, Herbie Roberts' life was cut short. In 1944, during the war, he died of erysipelas, a serious bacterial infection. He was just 39 years old. Think about that. A man who had given everything for Arsenal, who had gone to serve his country in war, gone before he even reached 40. And this is why I think it's so important we talk about him today, because players like Roberts built the foundations of a club we all love. Their stories shouldn't be lost to time. So what do we take from the life of Herbie Roberts? A gunsmith from Oswestry who became a gunner, 335 starts for Arsenal across 11 years. 4 league titles, 1931, 1933, 1934, 1935. FA Cup winner in 1936 after heartbreak in 1930. England international. Career ended by a knee injury in 1937. Stayed on as a trainer, served as a lieutenant in the Royal Fusiliers in World War II. Died in 1944, aged just 39. For me, he represents everything noble about this club's history: hard work, loyalty, quiet excellence, and service, both to Arsenal and to his country. Next time you think about Arsenal legends, don't just think about the goal scorers and the big names. Remember the ones who held it all together at the back, who built the platform for glory. Remember the Herbie Roberts, the gunsmith who became the heartbeat of Chapman's Arsenal. Thanks for listening, Gooners. If you enjoyed this dive into Arsenal history, let me know which unsung hero you'd like me to cover next. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future episodes. Up the Arsenal. And then till next time, take care, love your loved ones, and because life is short.